And hello, everyone, and welcome into the weekly But Fumble Sports NFL show. So happy to have all of you with us. If you're new to the show, welcome in. We broadcast on TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick every Tuesday, or at least when I don't blow it as a host and decide to call it off. But we are usually live every single week, and we will certainly try to be live for the remainder of the NFL season every Tuesday so we can talk sports every week. Bob, Jeff Supreme, shout out to you. Diego, shout out to you. Appreciate all of you loyal viewers and followers joining us for this NFL show tonight. We have our regular cast of characters joining us on this show. We will touch on some of the NFL news around the league. We will talk a little bit about the performances we've seen so far in the preseason. And then in about a half hour or so, we will do a fantasy football mock draft. So for those that want to participate in our fantasy football mock draft, we will be doing that. You can see up on the screen right now. We have a bunch of participants already in, 4 spots left. If you want to be a part of that fantasy football mock draft, just if you're watching on YouTube, there should be a link that's pinned. You can hit that link and claim the team, or you can DM us on Instagram. That's But Fumble Sports on Instagram, and we'll share the link with you there. That's me setting up the show. Now let's talk to our experts. Michael, we'll start with you. You can check out Michael Dobbin at MikeDobbs94. Michael, hope you're having a great night. How is life in Washington in the post-Dan Snyder era?
It's great to be here, and life's fantastic so far. Liked what I saw from the boys' first preseason game. We'll get more into that later.
Yeah, and I already saw that Ron Rivera has given out a game ball to the owner, so all things are right with the Washington Commanders. That is until the season starts, right, Michael?
Of course.
Also with us tonight, as always, is Adam, our resident Packer cheesehead. You can find him on Twitter at SpotterAJ. Adam, how you doing this evening?
I'm fantastic. We are past the post-Aaron Rodgers era, and if you are going to talk about Hard Knocks tonight, I will save everyone a lot of time. Just skip over me and go right to Michael, because I will not watch 1 minute of that. I had 18 years of Hard Knocks, so just want to save a little bit of time tonight. We have a lot to get to.
We do have a lot to get to, and I do want to start with the New York Jets, but not with Aaron Rodgers. I don't need to tease Adam tonight. Big news across the NFL in the last few hours, last few days, obviously, is some free agent running backs finally finding a home. First, it was Zeke Elliott to the New England Patriots. Then it was Dalvin Cook to the New York Jets. I did a rant video about this yesterday in which I put it to the audience, who got the better of the deal, which running back was the better pickup. Personally, I thought it was the Patriots. I thought they were weaker at the running back position. I thought they were desperate for depth. I thought Zeke Elliott, for what it sounds like is a $3 million base, $1 million signing bonus, and $2 million worth of incentives, isn't that expensive a contract in my estimation. Meanwhile, Dalvin Cook is more expensive. Maybe they're the same player. Maybe Dalvin Cook's a bit more productive. Adam, I'll start with you on this one. Which team do you think got the better running back given the situation? Patriots with Zeke, Jets with Dalvin Cook.
So to me, I'm opposite with you. I think the Jets getting Dalvin Cook is a home run there. They just activated Breece Hall again today. And if you look at the running back room, it's pretty young. They have a couple 2-3 year guys in there. And honestly, I think Dalvin Cook's a little underrated. I know he's a little bit more, 1 year up to $8.6 million. He had 1,170 rushing yards last year, 8 touchdowns and 39 receptions. And I'm just not a big fan of Zeke. I think Dalvin Cook can come into the Jets with Breece Hall and be a very dynamic duo. Flip side of that coin, yes, I think Zeke can help Stevenson for New England and take some load off of him. But I'm just not a Zeke guy. I just don't think he can make it through the whole year. Last year, at 876 yards rushing, he did have 12 touchdowns, but a lot of those were from like 5 yards and in, and only 17 receptions. So right now, a more dynamic player to me is Dalvin Cook, and yes, he was more expensive. But I think with Breece Hall and Cook, you can set themselves up. If there's an injury, let's say Hall gets hurt again, or if Cook gets hurt, you have a backup there, right?
You have two. You have Michael Carter and you have Bam Knight.
Right. So a little bit of insurance there. Where on the Patriots side of the ball, it's like Stevenson and now Zeke, and then there's kind of a drop-off there.
But see, that's why, to me, the Patriots were the better move, because I thought they were desperate. the Patriots' desperation was starting to stink outside of New England even. And so I thought that was the better move. Michael, you jump in on this. Do you agree with Adam or do you agree with me?
So when you come to a sense of who's the better player right now, I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook 100% of the time. I think he's just the more elusive back still. I haven't seen much regression from him compared to Zeke. But when you talk about basic needs of a team, I think the team of the Patriots needed a running back more than the Jets.
That was very diplomatic of you. You're on both sides of this argument right here.
Yeah, I mean, because you can see the benefit. It benefits both teams with who they sign. The thing is, my first thought right away from both these signings were fantasy implications. I look more towards that rather than who they are going to be on the team with, taking reps away from each other. So I just think that Patriots needed another bell cap out there than the Jets needed Dalvin Cook. I mean, I would have still loved to see Dalvin Cook in Miami. I was hearing that they didn't really offer him anything because they were happy with who they had in their depth chart, which I can see from preseason. Very happy about their third round back, Anchain. So I was just a little bit upset to not see him on that high-flying offense in Miami.
I know, just like you, Michael, part of my immediate thoughts went to fantasy football implications. Dalvin Cook joining the Jets. How does that impact Breece Hall? Is Dalvin Cook a good pickup? Do you have to if you get Breece Hall, do you get Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, no, that was my first thought exactly was, how many reps is he taking away from Hall? And part of me originally also was like, oh, wait, does this mean Hall's not progressing well? But he was just activated, so I'm not entirely sure. So I think it might even be a 50-50 split. So
yeah, I think this is insurance. I still think Breece Hall is probably the primary back, actually. I think he's just more dynamic, and I also think the Jets, they can – here's the thing. I think he's going to be the primary back once we get to October. Maybe in September, it's more running back by committee a little bit just to ease him back in coming off the injury. But ultimately, isn't Breece Hall the young star running back on this squad?
Yeah, you have to. And that's what I say is that if you're going to draft Dalvin, you have to draft Breece Hall. I mean, they go 1-1. It's just like whenever you draft Dalvin Cook back in Minnesota, you had to draft Madison. I think that if one of those two goes down, the other one's going to benefit very well. And I think that it's not going to be that much of a drop-off.
Bob Jeff Supreme, who's watching, says he thinks the Patriots got the better deal. You guys know, I think that's right. Now, I do have up on our screen right now, if you're watching on TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, our mock draft. We will be doing our mock draft. We will be doing a 10-team, non-PPR mock draft. We will be doing that at about 7:30 tonight. So if you want to participate on that, you can claim a link. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just go hit the pinned link and claim a team and participate in that mock draft. Now, I bring that up because I don't think Zeke is going to be as valuable from a fantasy standpoint. In fact, I think he could be a negative impact on Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson, who probably would have been getting not just a majority of the touches between the 20s, but certainly would have been the bell cow in the red zone. I think that is seriously impacted. First of all, Zeke Elliott is going to get some more touches just because they want to give Ramondre Stevenson a break. But especially in the red zone, that's one in which I'm not about picking up Zeke, but it has me questioning whether I want to pick up Ramondre Stevenson, whether his numbers are going to be negatively impacted. We already think that Bill O'Brien's going to try to be better about getting the ball out of Mac Jones's hands. Maybe that negatively impacts Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe they run him differently. But Zeke, I think he's going to be inside the 5-yard line. Definitely a touchdown option, which just hurts Ramondre Stevenson fantasy owners. How do we join this mock draft, Mimo? You can do one of two things. You can either go to YouTube, Twitch, or Kick. There should be a pinned link that you can hit and you can go claim the team. Or you can go to Instagram right now, Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram, just DM us. That's Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. DM us. We'll share a link with you, and you can claim your team. Only 3 spots left in this mock draft, so if you want to be a part of it, that's how you can join it. Now, let's shift over, and let's talk about some of the reactions. Actually, before I do, there's one other piece of news that came out today, and it is a good transition for us, because I wanted to talk about how some of these young quarterbacks are doing so far in the preseason, since that's really the position that us fans are evaluating probably the most early on. Anthony Richardson named the starter by the Indianapolis Colts for Week 1. Adam, what's your reaction to that news? Do you think it's the right decision? And do you think the Colts are actually setting him up to succeed, or do you think they're setting him up to fail?
This is an interesting question because I've seen in Green Bay now where Favre sat with the Falcons for a year, sat for a little while under Mikowski, and then ended up playing. Rodgers came and sat for 3-4 years under Favre, ended up playing. Worked out very well. So I've actually seen where sitting a quarterback can be very beneficial. With Ellinger and Minshew there, though, you don't have a whole lot. But then again, the Colts aren't expected to win a lot this year, so they could sit him for a year. I can make arguments on both sides of the coin. We're in a now society, right? Like, you need to come in, and if you don't succeed right away, you almost get pitched to the curb. Peyton Manning, his first year in the league, he threw 28 interceptions as a rookie. He would be gone in today's standards. Like, they wouldn't even, give him another chance. If this guy's garbage, he's out of here, right? So part of me says, yep, the Colts are going to be very good this year, and he can get a lot of experience and play. But another part of me says, I've watched in Green Bay over the last 25, 30 years of quarterback play, that sitting a quarterback isn't a bad thing. So I think you can go either side of the coin in this one. I'm on the side of letting him sit a little bit. I know you only have Ellinger there, and you're not going to win many games, but maybe letting him sit for a year isn't going to be a bad thing.
I just want to mention this one thing, because there were two thoughts that came to mind when I brought this up, and I'll spin it off to Michael with this comment. One, Peyton Manning obviously came to mind. Same organization. Colts put him out there. He went through his lumps in year 1, but ultimately became a better quarterback because of it and did pay dividends. That's an example of putting a player on the field actually may have benefited him. On the other side, what do these three players have in common? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. Well, yes, they are all Super Bowl champions and in the conversation of some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. They also all sat. They all missed time. They all were waited on before expectations were applied to them. Michael, are the Colts making a mistake by putting pressure on Anthony Richardson?
See, here's the thing. If you are going to sit Anthony Richardson and having him learn and develop, you're having him sit behind Sam Ellinger and Gardner Minshew. You're not sitting behind an Aaron Rodgers.
Or a Drew Bledsoe, or, right.
Yeah, so that's...
Alex Smith.
If the Colts had a quarterback that was that kind of stature, veteran, successful, and had a good repertoire, I get sitting him, but they don't. And you did draft him 4th overall to be your starting quarterback. And his first preseason game, you look at the stat line, you might think, 67 yards, 1 interception, not great. But he did have one pass that would have been a completion if the receiver didn't drop it, would have been another 30 yards, could have been a touchdown. He is a playmaker. I think that you are going to have to put him on the field through trial and error. If your objective as a Colts to not win games, then okay, sure, sit him. But I think that the best is to play him. I get that it's also a rookie head coach, so a lot of the heat might be on him to play him. But I think the right call is to go through trial and error and have Richardson start day 1, which I think they're making the right move.
I spoke. Go ahead, Adam.
I'll just put devil's advocate here real quick. I get it. He's sitting behind Ellinger and Minshew. 100% get it. But I think there's more to the story. There's, like you mentioned, a rookie head coach. He needs to learn a whole new offense. He needs to learn how to read defenses quicker. It's not necessarily who he's sitting behind. It's learning the system, we know how hard it is for a quarterback to come from college to the NFL. And just the play call, just to learn the playbook can be an immense hurdle. So I'm not so critical on who he's sitting behind. And I know Alex Smith and Brett Favre, but I think learning the playbook, learning a new system, learning how to read defenses, I think is more important than necessarily who he's sitting behind.
It's a good debate. It's not one that any of us can say we have a proven track record or a proven path to go down. I personally would like to see him sit, in part because he didn't have snaps in college. I've heard the other side too, which is the lack of snaps in college mean NFL snaps are even that much more valuable. He needs to get on the field. He needs the reps. He needs the experience. I actually spoke to a friend of mine earlier today who's a Colts fan, and he had a great comment. He said, the Colts drafted a Ferrari, but they live on a gravelly road, and they're going to force some things because Anthony Richardson is special. That doesn't mean they're built for him. That doesn't mean that they're going to put him in positions to succeed. It may ultimately be a detriment to him. You could argue in the same way Andrew Luck was put in a position to both succeed and fail at the same time, and it ultimately ended his career early. I don't think that necessarily happens to Anthony Richardson, but this seems very early to me. Like, they are pulling the trigger on this. Normally, I like to see a few preseason games. I like to see some progress. They are just jumping the gun on this one, and it makes me wonder if this rookie head coach is getting, over his skis a little bit, and he's letting this decision kind of lead him as opposed to him kind of defining the calendar of the year going into the first game of the year. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I will say this also kind of feels like a little of a Jim Irsay input.
Yeah.
Because so that's the whole thing with the whole Dan Snyder situation, was that his fingerprints were all over the team's decisions. And obviously, I don't think a franchise can always be successful if that's the case. And I think now Jim Irsay is the worst owner in football. I don't think he knows a lot about the game, and I think that he does force players and the coaching staff's hand. So I just think his mindset is, I drafted you 4th overall. You're going to play. The head coach, even if he might disagree with it, he's got his hands tied.
We're getting in,
and let's
go ahead.
Sorry, White, real quick. Let's not forget, he redshirted it at Florida.
Right.
He said as a backup his next year, so he's only played one full season.
12 games.
As a starting quarterback in college football. So that, and again, that to me, that points like we need to sit this guy a little more instead of throwing him out there to the wolves. I mean, one full season in college football, and now he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, which to your friend's point, that is a great analogy, drafting a Ferrari on a gravel road. But I'm with you. I think he needs to sit this season.
I love that there's at least something to talk about with the Indianapolis Colts, because frankly, with their white bread with mayo spread on it quarterbacks that they've had over the last 5 years, there was nothing of interest for me in that Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz mess of an Indianapolis Colts. I'd much rather talk about Anthony Richardson at least. And that was actually to a point my friend made, which was, if nothing else, from a business perspective, from a narrative, getting attention from the national media, Colts won it. This is the better move. Gardner Minshew, he's not going to get any time on SportsCenter. Anthony Richardson, they're going to show him. Now, there are a few questions that we're getting in that I want to just answer. A couple people from across the different platforms. First of all, Bernie, appreciate you subscribing. You ask, should you draft Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen in your fantasy draft? I actually think Jalen Hurts is the better fantasy quarterback. Look at the stats. Look at how he produces in terms of fantasy points. The likelihood that he goes to his projected total or above it is greater than Josh Allen. I think Allen could have some difficulties that we're not expecting. I wouldn't be surprised if he regressed just a little bit, especially as a runner. I think Jalen Hurts will continue to get you rushing points. I think Josh Allen, I think he's going to be more and more conservative with each year putting his body in harm's way. QZW asks, are the Vikings going to finish in last place? Well, if you talk to Adam, he believes they'll probably finish in last place. I think that's probably going to be the Bears still. I think the Packers are impressing some people. Jordan Love, we're going to talk about him in just 1 second. So just hold on 1 second, Adam. We'll get to your lover boy in a minute. But I do think the Bears are probably the one that finishes last. They still have some work to be done on multiple sides of the ball. So I think they finish last. I could see the Vikings actually finishing second, Packers third. But I really think it's between the Vikings and the Packers battling it out for that 2 and 3 spot. Don Julio asks, when do we think, what round will Breece Hall be drafted? We're going to do this mock draft in about 10 minutes here. We're going to find out where in a 10-team non-PPR draft where Breece Hall goes is going to be very interesting to me. Diego, is Dak Prescott overhated? The answer is yes, he's absolutely overhated. Is he overrated? Probably also yes. The interceptions are concerning. What has he ever won? What has he ever done? He was good as a rookie. He was able to replace Romo, but is he really deserving of the praise or the hate? Not really. He's more middle of the pack. Daniel Jones doesn't get nearly as much of attention or love, but he and Dak Prescott probably have more in common than most people recognize. Now, I did want to get to some of these young quarterbacks. who have been showing out in the preseason. Do we believe in their early performances, or are we doubting them? Adam, we will start with you with Jordan Love. He looked good in that first preseason game. Are you buying it, or are you just believing it's preseason hype?
Well, I'm buying it to the point of I think Jordan Love is going to be a good quarterback. Now, will he be as good as Rodgers and Favre and Hall of Fame? I'm not going that crazy, but I think he's going to be a good quarterback that can lead us to the playoffs. Now, don't get me wrong. He was 7 for 10 for 46 yards and a touchdown, and he missed a couple open receivers. 2 of his throws, he missed pretty much wide open receivers. And really, in all honesty, that touchdown pass he threw was a little underthrown. And if you're playing at starting cornerbacks in this league, that's going to get knocked away all day long. So I'm not going, crazy, jumping up and down thinking that he's the second coming of Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. But I did like what I see out of him. He was very calm. He had command of the offense.
Yep.
I think he knew the offense, which he knows. His progression is going to take a little time. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of expectation on him. But I did see some good things, but don't get me wrong. I did see some bad things as well.
I want to praise Adam right now. All of you guys out there who watch the show regularly, who know I like to stick my elbow in the ribs of Adam every now and then, especially when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. I want to give Adam his flowers, Adam his praise, because he is not, injecting the Packers hype into his veins directly. He's easing off the gas a little bit, and I give you credit because I thought Jordan Love was okay. I thought he was, good. I didn't think he was amazing. I thought people on TV made it sound like he was, the second coming, and it was like you said, I actually thought that touchdown throw wasn't nearly as impressive as actually I wish it had been.
It wasn't. And if that's against, some of these tough starting corners,
right,
in the league, it's knocked away or intercepted all day long. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Emilio is asking Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill. That's a no-brainer for me. I'd go Tyreek Hill. I just don't trust the Los Angeles Rams offense. Michael, I'm going to transition over to you. We talked about Jordan Love. If you want to touch on him, I'll let you. But I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on Justin Fields. He only threw, I think, 3 passes, and he had an amazing start, in part because DJ Moore took it to the house. Overhyped, or do you believe that this preseason performance is legitimate?
So I will say this on Jordan Love, that I was a little bit impressed with him. He did, as you guys said, he did miss a few deep connections. I was just not there for him. He also looked very poised, especially without Bakhtiari protecting
Good point.
Side. So that I was very impressed with, that he wasn't feeling under pressure, and he was in command. The whole thing with Justin Fields is everyone was making that such a big deal about his quote-unquote touchdown throw. That was all DJ Moore behind the scenes.
It was like a line of scrimmage throw.
Yeah, he made the play himself. That's a whole other argument that was just DJ Moore's complete athleticism.
Now it goes to show that they got a stud finally at wide receiver for him at least.
I think that DJ Moore is fantastic, but that was just a quick screen to
Yeah.
DJ Moore, and he was the one that split many tight ends defenders. It was 62 yards that I think Justin Fields maybe accounted for -2 of those yards. That's how much.
No, people made it sound like he threw an 80-yard dime to the end zone.
And everyone was saying, oh, Justin Fields found his new best friend. Well, that might be the case, but this was all DJ Moore. This was not Justin Fields, so I have not seen what I've needed to see from Justin Fields just yet. For fantasy purposes, I still think he's going to be a good quarterback just because he's mobile and he utilizes his speed. But right now, I'm still hesitant on seeing him being a passer first.
Well, and let's not forget, too, the other touchdown pass there, he literally threw the ball maybe 3 yards in the air to DJ Moore in the screen pass to get these yards. So it wasn't like you said, he wasn't throwing dimes out there. He threw literally 3 yards in the air and had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
No, the only thing that I take away from it is when can I ever say the Chicago Bears had a stud at wide receiver? I can't think of one. If someone can remind me of one, go right ahead.
Brandon Marshall?
Fine. By the way, if Brandon Marshall is the ceiling, first of all, I'll both give that to you, but I'll also be like, that says a lot. DJ Moore proved in one play that he's the most talented wide receiver that they've had in a long time. Alshon Jeffrey is someone other people brought up. Again, if Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall are the ceiling, DJ Moore is going to blast through that. Do I think that Justin Fields just proved all the haters wrong or validated all the lovers? No. Much like Jordan Love, let's not huff the paint a little too much here. Let's take it with a grain of salt. But that said, I like seeing, if nothing else, one play of chemistry. Fine, it's better than an interception, which actually leads me to my next player we want to talk about, C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, welcome to the NFL. His name is Bill Belichick, and he has been picking on rookie quarterbacks since before you were born. And that's what happened. C.J. Stroud got a dosage of Patriots disguise, and he threw a bad ball intercepted to Jalen Mills. I'm not hating on the kid, just like I'm not showing too much love to Fields or too much love to Jordan Love. I think C.J. Stroud's going to learn some things. I don't take too much from it. Am I misguided in that, Michael? Or did C.J. Stroud actually poop his pants on national TV?
No, it's growing pains, especially with young quarterbacks. And as you guys said about with Anthony Richardson, he's got to learn a new system. But I will say that there is one rookie on Texas that I was very impressed with in that game, and that was Tank Dell. I know that's not quarterback play.
Totally agree.
But I will say he is going to help C.J. Stroud a lot. And I think that if there are growing pains, it is great to start a connection with a fellow rookie receiver that you can have for the next 4 or 5 years.
Kind of like what they did with Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller. If you remember that, it's you pair a young wide receiver with a lot of talent, speed in space, and you pair him with a quarterback who, there are going to be times he just needs to throw it to someone who can make a move. And Tank Dell, I was so impressed by him.
Yeah, 100%. I think that they're going to be a good combination. I think that C.J. Stroud, I still believe he's gifted. He's just going to take some time.
Adam, what are your thoughts on the C.J. Stroud debut?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can take away from his preseason games. You know, I know he was only 2 for 4 for 13 yards and an interception, but we chopped up all this draft before and after and stuff like that. I've never been like high on C.J. Stroud, but like Michael said, like he's coming in, he's learning a new system. You know, not all the starters are on the field. Like it's just, it's one of those things. Like Wyatt, you mentioned a couple weeks ago. Like this is like the overblown portion of the program, right? When it's training camp and these first preseason games, it's everything's so overblown. So give the kids some time to settle in, learn the playbook. You can't take a lot from this first preseason game.
I'm glad that you actually went there. That's how I wanted to conclude this segment as we get ready to do our mock draft in just a few minutes. But I wanted to bring up the last player from this kind of first round of preseason games that got a ton of hype, a ton of talk on national TV, and yet, did I actually take too much away from it? No. And that's Malik Cunningham. If you guys don't know who he is, he was he played well at Louisville. He put up some numbers. He came in at quarterback for the Patriots late in that Texans game and delivered a little bit of offense. A little bit. Patriots offense was pathetic. He moved them down the field. He did okay. But to me, if nothing else, it was just a reminder to me that there is no electricity in this Patriots roster. That if we're looking to an undrafted quarterback/wide receiver to inject some energy into the New England Patriots, it just tells me that team is kind of lifeless. They might be good fundamental football from the 1980s, but there is no life there. And it was a reminder exactly to what Adam said. Don't get too high on these preseason games. Don't get too low on them. Don't believe the spoon-feed airplane of bullshit that all these coaches, front offices, agents, and sports media members are trying to feed you to get you hyped on the NFL season. There's plenty of things to really be hyped about, and there's plenty of things that they're just feeding you that's absolute nonsense. Right, Michael?
Yeah, well, I will say this about Malik Cunningham. I think he's going to inject into the offense just like what Antoine Randall out.
That's right. That's exactly the comparison I made. Shout out Indiana University.
Yeah, Big Ten situation right there. But I will say I am a little disappointed that you didn't talk about my team's young quarterback. I know that you have a little bit of hate towards him.
We actually, I don't know if you know this, Michael, but we have a quota. The Washington Commanders get one mention a show. We've already talked about them winning the preseason game and giving that game ball to the owner. We have hit the quota. No more Washington Commanders talk.
Fair enough.
With that said, actually, folks, it is time to do our fantasy football mock draft. We're a half hour into our NFL show, and despite the fact that Adam absolutely hates fantasy football, believe it or not, shocking. Oh my goodness, Adam, how could you?
So I do. I'm all about the bright lights in Vegas. and walk into a sports book and have all the spreads on the board. I love that or whatever. So you need to dumb it down and explain to me what PPR and MVS and all the other stuff means with this, because if anyone's listening here that is a version with this deal, I am. I've never done a mock draft in my life.
That's perfect, because we are here for the fantasy football virgins out there. If you are looking to learn more about fantasy football, if you've never played before, if you want to learn more, if you want to surprise the people in your league and kind of sneak up on them, you've come to the right place. Butt Fumble Sports is here for fantasy football players of all experience, whether you're a super ace or whether you're a complete novice like Adam. We're going to teach you everything. We're going to take you week by week through our mock drafts, hopefully make you better, and that way you can spring a win on a lot of your friends and family over the next few months and hopefully earn some bragging rights and respect. With that said, we are going to do tonight, just to show you guys up on the screen, we are going to do a snake draft. That means each round goes 1 through 10, then we loop around. The person who was last goes first in the next round. That's a snake draft. This is going to be a standard league. That's non-PPR. For those that are curious, PPR stands for points per reception. That means you get a point every time a receiver gets a catch or a running back makes a catch. I think PPR is bullshit. Just because you made a catch, so what? Exactly to the DJ Moore example, DJ Moore earned his points on the yards he gained and on the touchdown. Just because he caught the ball, I don't think he should be rewarded, but some leagues play that way. We're going to do this mock draft as a standard, so no PPR. So like a running back that has a lot of catches like Austin Eckler, maybe not as valuable in this league as they would be in a PPR. Just a thought. Now, this is going to be a 10-team mock draft. It looks like all of our spots but one are claimed by humans, so fortunately we're going to get a really good authentic look at what a mock draft's going to look like. I am going to change up the draft order. We have one auto draft, so we'll get a little bit of insight as to how the computer is going to play it, but I'm going to randomize the teams. Mike Dobbs 94 will be going first, with our auto draft going second. We have randomized the teams. Everybody, you ready to go? In 3, 2, 1, and we are drafting in our mock draft here at Butt Fumble Sports. Mike, what are you thinking for your first pick?
Yeah, I was happy with the fourth pick, but got randomized and I got first, so I'm not going to complain and I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going with the best player available, and that's, in my opinion, Christian McCaffrey, especially if we're not doing PPR. I'm not drafting a wide receiver first overall.
So Christian McCaffrey, and by the way, I totally agree with that in a non-PPR. Justin Jefferson goes first to Chatos. El Pinche goes up next. This is Diego. Sorry, Drew, didn't get you in on the join just fast enough. Jorge, thoughts on Stevenson, Breece Hall's value? Both go down just a little bit. El Pinche got Austin Eckler, so in the first two picks, 2 running backs off the board. Jorge the GOAT is going to go next. Then Emilio, Butt Fumble Sports, Team 7, which is the auto draft, Spotter, AJ, and Shade 45. So Jorge goes with Tyreek Hill. Emilio now on the clock. So, interesting. Emilio goes with a tight end. Think that's a bit of a reach on a tight end. You may love Travis Kelce, but even there, I'm not crazy enough about him. The fact that Jamar Chase just fell to me, I've got to take him at number 6. Probably not the player that I thought I would be taking. Thought I'd take a running back, but if Jamar Chase is going to fall to me, I'll take it. So, number 6 is Jamar Chase. Team 7 goes Bijan Robinson. Now, Spotter AJ going now. Running back is a good position here, especially in a non-PPR. So looking at the top running backs available, Barkley, Chubb, Taylor, probably a bit of a reach. Spotter AJ goes Nick Chubb. That's a really good pick by Adam.
Fantastic pick.
Adam, good pick.
Yeah, I like him a little bit more than Barkley. I think he'd be more involved in the offense there in Cleveland.
And this is what I'll say, is that if I had the 4th overall pick, I would have picked Chubb early on, because we're not doing PPR, and I think Chubb right now is the best non-PPR running back.
I completely agree with you, by the way. The fact that you're not getting PPR points off of it, I really like Nick Chubb over even Barkley, even though I like Barkley. Shade 45 drafts Barkley, and next Bobby Jr. drafted Tony Pollard.
I will say this, that I am pretty shocked how Tyreek and Kelsey came off the board fairly early. I am a Tyreek Hill believer, and I think Kelsey obviously should be considered a wide receiver in fantasy implications, but those two are just a little bit of a reach for me.
IP Shade 45 going next. We've had a run on running back, 5 running backs taken in a row here at the end of the first round and to start the second. Running back, obviously highly valuable. Josh Jacobs goes next to Shade 45. So the run on running back continues. Spotter AJ, you're in a great position. You can go wide receiver, you can go running back. Because you got Nick Chubb, you've already got at least one running back. Good spot to be in. Maybe you want to double up on running back. Maybe you want to go with a wide receiver. Either way, I don't think you can really miss here.
A little nervous about this one, but I'm going to grab Diggs here.
Interesting
Situation there. I don't know. Taylor with his dispute, Stevenson, now splitting time with Zeke and Brees Hall injured. I just grabbed Diggs there. I think he's going to come back here and have a decent year there with Buffalo. And I feel a little bit better grabbing Diggs than I do A.J. Brown at that spot.
So I'm in a tough spot. Jonathan Taylor, number 1 running back on the board. Not who I necessarily wanted to go with right now, but I am going to take it. Probably a reach, but just like Jamar Chase in the first round, if Jonathan Taylor is going to fall to me, I'll take the pick. So I'm surprised that Patrick Mahomes went to the auto-drafting team, but frankly, he's been going in the second round, so it's not too shocking so far. To those who are new to fantasy football, I do recommend you get at least one running back in the first 2 rounds. So,
yeah, I was going to say, in regards to drafting Taylor, I don't necessarily think it's a reach if he's going to be playing.
Oh, no, I mean it's a steal, as in he falls. If I'm getting him middle of the second round, yeah, I don't think it's a reach, but do I think he fell to me? Yeah, and that's kind of why I need to take it.
Oh, yeah, because you mentioned you weren't necessarily sure if you were reaching, and I was like, oh, no, that's not a reach, and that's fun.
Yeah.
That's prime real estate.
No, I like, that's why I took him. I think Jonathan Taylor in that second round, that's a good spot, especially when he falls to you, and I need a running back. Now, there's been a run on wide receiver here in the last 2 picks. Emilio went with Cooper Kupp, Lamb to Jorge the GOAT. El Pinche got Garrett Wilson. So running back, popular in the first round. Wide receiver, popular in the second round. Not surprising, but again, we're trying to learn as much as we can from these mock drafts to get ready for our fantasy drafts in just a few weeks. A.J. Brown goes next to Chatos, which means the run on wide receiver continues. Mike Dobbs, where are you going to go?
Yeah, so necessarily I do like to keep with the running back situation, but when I do have a player on the wide receiver position and Devontae Adams is available, I'm going to go there.
Okay.
Especially. And now, the thing is that I'm looking at these running backs that are available, and nothing's really catching my eye, and I don't want to reach right now. I would have considered Stevenson, but
But Zeke Elliott,
Elliott signing is a little wary. Same with Brees Hall. So I'm going to stick with wide receiver, and I'm going to go with the Sun God. So I got a really great 2 tandem in the receivers, and I got my number 1 running back. So right now, I really do like what I got.
Love what you got there. Christian McCaffrey, number one running back. Adams and St. Brown, really strong. Jalen Hurts goes next to Chatos, second quarterback drafted. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, typically I'll keep with running backs. I was just going to say, I would just keep with running backs, but these situations that we got here, I don't want to overreach for a player like Gibbs or Kenneth Walker. So I'm just going to go and do the safe bet and go with 2 stud receivers, and that was my mindset there.
Joe Mixon comes off the board for El Pinche. He now has 2 running backs and a wide receiver, Eckler, Garrett Wilson, and Joe Mixon. Jorge the GOAT has 2 wide receivers in Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. Would expect him to go with a wide receiver here. Expect him to go running back. Stevenson, the number 1 running back available. Maybe not a great pick. Time's up. Jorge the GOAT goes Travis Etienne. Very interesting. Etienne comes off the board to Jorge the GOAT. Emilio goes Jalen Waddle. I think that's a really good pick. Now, I'm in a tough spot. I actually was going to take Waddle with the next pick and pair him with Jamar Chase. I love that. I'm going to wait on wide receiver now. I'll go back to running back. And actually, Michael mentioned it. I'm reaching a little bit here, but I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Love the offensive line of the Lions. Really trust it. And I need a second running back. I don't want to wait too long. Chris Olave goes next to the auto-drafting team.
Yeah, I think Gibbs is going to be a spark plug for that Lions offense. I think he's going to produce like Swift, but tenfold. I think he's going to be a lot bigger than what Swift was.
Spotter, AJ, any option here is a good one. Running back with Aaron Jones. Not surprised he went with his Packer. Maybe a slight reach by a round.
It is. Well, it might be, but I know how dynamic he is receiving the football, not only running it. And he's going to be a huge part of Jordan Love's success. So I think he could have a really good year this year.
Keep in mind, he's better in PPR leagues, but I don't disagree with Adam.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shade 45 goes Josh Allen, so 3 quarterbacks are gone. Bobby Jr. goes 2 non-traditional positions here, Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, so he doubles up on the Baltimore Ravens. Very interesting turn there in rounds 3 and 4 from Bobby Jr. So 2 tight ends are gone, 4 quarterbacks are gone. IP Shade 45 now drafting, still looking for a wide receiver, and he takes T. Higgins. Great pick in the 4th round. Spotter AJ probably could use another wide receiver. Doubling up on another or getting another running back isn't bad. The run on quarterback, though, not enough. DK Metcalf, nice pick. Ramondre Stevenson goes next. I've got Devontae Smith just sitting there staring at me. I'm not going to overthink this one. Devontae Smith, I'll take him. Emilio, you are now on the clock. Still looking for his first running back. Emilio has Kelsey, Cooper Kupp, and Jalen Waddle. Still waiting, though.
Yeah, if this was me, I wouldn't have waited too long to get a running back.
Yeah, right.
When there's not that many.
And by the way, especially in a non-PPR league, you know, if you're in a PPR league, I understand. He just got Calvin Ridley. I love his wide receivers, but at some point, don't you need a running back?
Yeah, and being in the middle of the draft might not be the best situation to wait on a running back.
Absolutely. Chester, I'm going to give you a shot to come on the show. Let us know what you think. Chester, what are your thoughts about the mock draft? We'll see if Chester wants to add his comments. Najee Harris just went next to Jorge. Yeah, Chester, go for it. Oh, too bad. And just when I thought that we were going to get someone who's going to be serious and come on and give us all of this information, Chester has been removed. Okay, now that we've had Chester try to blow us up with like some sex stuff, we can get back to our regularly scheduled program. Adam, Michael, sorry for your innocent ears hearing all that.
That's all good.
Totally fine, and it happened during my pick. And Brees Hall was there, so I actually didn't overthink it. He did land to me in the 4th round, so I was going to go there.
Yeah, nice. Keep going.
And right now, I'm between wide receiver and running back, so I'll just double up on the running back because I'm wide receivers deep, and I'll go J.K. Dobbins. When he was healthy last year, towards the end of the season, he averaged over 90 yards a game in those 4 last games, and I think that they're saying he's looking great in practice camp. So I think that he's going to have a big season.
Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. We're going to add Cortez. Cortez, what are your thoughts?
Don't do it.
Oh, Wyatt.
Don't do it.
Yeah. You guys are right. Every time I try to participate, no, it's just a bunch of hackers. It's just a bunch of Twitter terrorists. Okay, see you later, guys. No more. You're not getting us anymore. Okay. Dobbins, Swift, and Connor have gone next. We've had 5 running backs in a row. We've had 6 running backs in the last 7 picks. Interesting. Jorge went T.J. Hawkinson. Very interesting. T.J. Hawkinson now on there. By the way, no, we're not going to get the request to take any more speakers. We've learned our lesson. Damian Pierce then goes, okay, I have 2 wide receivers. I have 2 running backs. I want to get depth at one of these positions. Right now, I feel better about taking Miles Sanders than any of the wide receivers or running backs. So I'll just take Miles Sanders to be my 3rd running back and not overthink it. I think it's probably not a great pick, But for me, I'd rather had some depth at the running back position. Spotter AJ, what are you thinking at this pick?
I don't know. Is this a point in time that you start looking at a quarterback here?
You can. A lot of other teams have taken it. I decided to pass on it, but if you took Joe Burrow, wouldn't be a bad pick right here.
Yeah, I think that's what I was looking at. I was looking at him or Herbert.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go Burrow.
So you got your quarterback. There are about half the teams so far in the league in this mock draft have gotten a quarterback, so it's a good time to get him. Getting Joe Burrow in the 5th round, not bad.
If they're putting up 300 yards and a couple touchdowns every week, that's got to be some pretty good points to your team, right?
Oh, yeah. Listen, you won't be sorry if you got Joe Burrow as your fantasy quarterback. He's going to be a top 6 in fantasy in my mind because you got that lethal offense with those receivers. So if you got T. Higgins, you got Boyd, and you got
Chase.
And Jamar Chase, you're going to continue to produce touchdowns. So,
and more importantly, Adam, what I really like is you've built a really strong starting lineup. Chubb and Aaron Jones as your running backs. Diggs and Metcalf as your wide receivers, and Joe Burrow as your quarterback. Really good spot to be in. Now, interestingly, Bobby Jr. is playing crazy right now. He just drafted Justin Fields. So he doubled up on the quarterback position. So even better that you got Joe Burrow when you did, because quarterback now is going to get harder to come by. That was an interesting play by Bobby Jr. If I'm in your position now, maybe you look at tight end, but really I'd look at wide receiver or running back to get some extra depth. DJ Moore.
Well, the thing is, DJ Moore is probably not a bad play right there.
Cam Akers could be a sleeper. Only a few seconds left. He goes George Kittle, takes a tight end. Interesting.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Go ahead, Michael. No, you're fine.
No, it was your pick. I'll let you speak.
No, I grabbed Kittle there because he's always has really good production, and some of those receivers at the top of the board right now with Hopkins and some of them guys, it's a little bit questionable right now. DJ Moore probably would have been a decent pick, but I think George Kittle could be a really key to that young quarterback there in Purdy and San Fran this year.
And because you took Kittle, I took Pitts because I actually thought, which position would I rather invest in right now? I'll wait on the quarterback an extra round or two. I'd rather get Kyle Pitts. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think he's going to have kind of a breakout year for him. But back-to-back quarterbacks, Herbert and Trevor Lawrence go to Emilio and Jorge. So the run on quarterback happening earlier than I anticipated. Having so many quarterbacks gone in round 6. Michael, I don't know about you, but I'm learning a lot from this draft.
Oh, yeah. I think just because of Bobby Jr. drafting Justin Fields, I think it started to do that little bit of a run on quarterbacks. I, too, would have waited a little bit longer, especially since Hurts, Mahomes, and Allen were off the board early. But now I might be handcuffed to having to draft quarterback now.
Yeah, it seems like, I went after the tight end position because I actually thought that would be more valuable by marginal value compared to other tight ends I could draft later. But right now, quarterback's going fast. Chatos is on the clock. He takes Terry McLaurin, who actually could be a really good pick here in the 6th round. Not enough people are talking about Terry McLaurin.
I could talk for ages about Terry McLaurin, but I'll digress. But right now, I'm doing this pick based on health. I think that if he's healthy, he's going to be a sleeper.
Wow. Really surprised. Really surprised.
And the only reason why I did that is because I have the next pick, and I'm going to my tight.
Okay, I understand. It's interesting. Tagovailoa and Goddard are not the picks I expected from you.
So the thing is with Tua, when he was healthy last year, he was putting up QB1 numbers in fantasy. I get that's the big if. Right now, I'm still not entirely in love with Prescott as an option. I'm not in love with Deshaun Watson as an option. So I did go best available, in my opinion, and that was Tua. And that's the big thing is if healthy. And Dallas Goedert, before he got injured again last year, he was one of the better tight ends. He was consistently putting you up 10-plus points a game, and that's what I need in my tight end. I don't need someone to constantly score 18-plus. I just want the steady 10-plus, and I think that's what Goddard can do.
Interesting. Deshaun Watson is now gone to El Pinche. Quarterback. Am I the only team? I am the only remaining team that hasn't drafted a quarterback. And you know what? I'm not going to draft one here. I don't feel like there's real value here. I'm going to draft Cam Akers. I think Cam Akers could be a sleeper here in the 7th round. And I know I already have 3 running backs. I'll get another one here. I think running back's going to be more valuable. I'll wait on my quarterback.
So, answer me this question about with Akers. Is that I drafted him last year, I think, 3rd, 4th round when he dropped to me. I thought it was a huge steal. And then for some reason, he was out of favor with Sean McVay. That's still, I get they're saying that he's going to be their number 1 guy, but I'm still a little weary. Can you put my mind at ease with Akers?
Yeah, I can. Where the Rams are right now as an organization is much different than they were a year ago. I think last year they tried to play hardball with Akers. I think this year their general attitude is, you know what? We're probably competing for a 1st overall pick or a top 5 pick. Let's give him the ball. If he's going to be good, great. If he's not, we'll run him into the ground. And I don't mean to put it that, callously, but I think that's ultimately where the Rams are going to come out. They don't have that many options.
Okay, yeah.
And they're going to have to play that play-action game if they're going to be successful. By the way, Adam, great pick on Pacheco. Really like that pick.
Yeah, I mean, this is a ton of offense in Kansas City. Now, I know there's a lot of questions at wide receiver, but it doesn't matter, right? They're going to plug and play there and have Mahomes throw the ball over the yard. But I think Pacheco is a key part of that offense here. So, so where I sit right now, 2 wide receivers, 3 running backs, and a quarterback. Is this a situation where you need to look back at wide receiver?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. Get some depth at wide receiver, especially because you're going to need it if DK Metcalf gets hurt, if Diggs gets hurt. Mike Williams, that's a good pick. Really solid. You're having a good draft, Adam.
Yeah, I feel like over Hopkins and Tennessee with that quarterback situation and Atlanta quarterback situation, I feel much more comfortable with Herbert Williams. They already have a couple of years under their belt, so.
I will say this, Adam, just for you and other fantasy virgins, is be wary of bye weeks.
Yes.
Obviously, you don't want to get handcuffed into getting a situation where your receivers have the same bye or your quarterback and running back have the same bye. Or it's mostly with the same position because if you obviously both your starting running backs have the same bye, you're a little screwed.
No, bye week hell is a real thing.
Yeah, that's it. Then that's something I wouldn't even have thought about. Wouldn't even have thought about that.
And what's really important, actually, and this is another one, this is maybe a slightly deeper dive. So, yes, you want to be aware of bye weeks. Also, as crazy as it sounds, who has good matchups in the playoffs? Are you playing a top defense come your playoff time? That might seem too far in the future for some of you. Some of you guys are just trying to make the playoffs. But for fantasy football owners like myself that are competing for a championship every year, yes, I do keep my eye on, does my running back face a collection of tough defenses from like Thanksgiving on? For some of you, that might be too optimistic. But for me, I like to do that little bit of schedule previewing and schedule investigation just so I can identify when am I going to get my David Montgomery a few years ago. He had a monster game against the Vikings. That came playoff time. Those are the kind of things you want to look at. Good picks by Mike Dobbs. I like Mike London. I like James Cook's an interesting one. I'm not as crazy about him, actually. Jackson Smith and Jigba goes to Jorge the GOAT. Emilio is next up on the clock. By the way, I am still the only team in the draft that doesn't have a quarterback, which I freaking love.
I will say this in regards to my James Cook pick. He's my 4th running back. I'm pretty set on running backs now, I think. And he's on my bench. I think him being the number 1 guy in Buffalo, I think, can help tremendously in fantasy. He's a better PPR running back than he is standard, but I still think that stashing him on my bench could provide a good spark.
So Zay Flowers went the pick in front of me. That's exactly who I was going to draft. So Emilio, you can go eat dirt. With that said, I need to find someone, and I ran out of time. Dak Prescott. I got my quarterback. I knew I needed somebody. I reached for him. I know. Zay Flowers being selected in front of me hurt me. Interesting. Adam doubled down on the Chiefs and went with Tony. Very interesting.
Well, he's going to be Mahomes' number 1 guy this year, so I'll take.
Or so you hope.
Here. Well, yeah, I think he's going to be Mahomes.
By the way, I love Dotson. Just like I like McLaurin, I think Dotson's underrated.
I was going to stash Dotson if no one was going to get him.
Oh, people are too smart here.
I think he's one of my fantasy sleepers of the year. I think he's going to have a breakout season.
Yep.
He's going to take a lot of pressure off Terry McLaurin. So I think a lot of footballs are going to be thrown towards Dotson because of the double coverage safety help for McLaurin.
Totally agree with you. Completely agree with you.
Might be a little bit reach, but I love this kid in college, and I think he's going to do well in Seattle.
Oh, you took my guy. I was going to take Charbonnet. Good job. Good pick. Okay. I'm going to double up on quarterback because I don't trust Dak Prescott. So I'm also going to take Aaron Rodgers, and I'm just going to play a week-to-week with two people everyone hates. Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers, and I'm the team everyone hates.
You just absolutely stick it to me every week, Wyatt. Every week.
I mean, if you want him, I'll trade him to you.
No, I don't want him.
I'll give you Aaron Rodgers for Nick Chubb, Stephon Diggs, and DK Metcalf. Oh, and Joe Burrow.
No, keep him. You can keep him.
Anyways, we continue to move through this mock draft, going through round 10. Jorge the GOAT on the clock. Hope you guys are having a lot of fun. This is the Butt Fumble Sports Weekly NFL Show. We are going to be live every Tuesday. These knuckleheads and myself will be talking NFL football every Tuesday for the remainder of the 2023 year, hopefully. And hopefully taking you through the NFL season with a lot of good info, picks, and fantasy football advice.
So I know Michael's on the clock here, but with 5 rounds remaining, is this when you start taking a look at defense and the back?
No, it's not quite. The answer is I would say round 12, round 13 is when you can start to make that determination. The only problem is when there's a run on a position, like we saw earlier, there's a run on quarterback, and all of a sudden you feel panicked and you feel like you got to take one. If you get in that position, I understand. But overall, I'd wait until rounds 13, even 14 to look at defense and kicker.
Gotcha.
Dalton Kincaid, nice pick by Mike. I'm just surprised you doubled up. You are really heavy on the Buffalo offense, like way too heavy for me.
Here's the thing is that Gabe Davis, Kincaid, and Cook, they're my backups. I'm not going to be using them.
And if the Bills have a good offensive game, like all three could go off. So
exactly. So that's what. And Gabe Davis, yes, he's the sleeper darling that everyone loves to highlight.
He gets like when he has a good game, he gets like 3 touchdowns. Like
last year, he was reached on in a lot of fantasy drafts. Yep. But I say at this point in round 10, I think it's a good spot to look at. If he's on with Josh Allen, he's a great combination. And Dalton Kincaid, I think he's going to be turning a lot of heads, as we said in the previous podcast, how he's going to be one of the better tight ends in the league. So I think with that offense, he can provide a lot of points.
You can tell it's a good draft when a lot of the players I want are gone by this point in the draft. I'll go Sam Laporta.
Wow, I love that pick.
Because it's a backup tight end to Kyle Pitts, it makes me feel better about it. It's not me trying to put too much faith in Laporta. Again, good matchups. When he faces the Vikings defense, consider it a start. Team 7, the auto-drafting team, took Anthony Richardson. Very interesting. As a backup to Mahomes. Love it.
Yeah, and this is the thing to Laporta's case, is that in Detroit camp, a lot of words are coming out that he is turning a lot of heads. I think he's going to be a focal point of that Detroit Lions offense. Yes, I don't think he's going to you're starting. So in your case, you played it great with him being your backup. I think that he's going to be with Dalton Kincaid as the most about rookie tight ends.
Interesting. IP Shade 45 takes the first defense, and this is what we're concerned about, Adam, is when you have someone like IP Shade 45 or someone else, they reach on a position. Now Bobby Jr. goes Patriots defense. Now IP Shade 45 doubles down and gets another defense. So the run on defenses, maybe you want to follow the trend. It's going earlier than I think it should, but you don't want to get shut out. Already 3 defenses off the board. It could go fast. So that's you got to kind of audible this.
Yeah, so take a look at the defenses here. I see what you're saying. I'm going to grab one of the best in the league last year, but hopefully have a better offense this year. Denver.
Yep. And you take the Broncos. And again, I don't want to take the defense right now. In fact, I really hate the fact that I'm going to. But this run on defense, 4 defenses in the last 6 picks, I just can't get shut out. I'll take the Jets defense. It's a reach. It's not what I want to do, but sometimes you can't get stuck behind the 8 ball.
And so in these last 3 rounds now, you almost have to draft another defense.
That's right.
And 2 kickers for a bye week, right?
The answer is no. You don't draft two kickers. You draft one kicker, and then you make a decision to drop somebody when the bye week comes, or you make a decision. You absolutely don't hold two kickers on your bench.
So having one quarterback now, I need to start looking at quarterback and kicker.
Exactly right. That is worth it in part because kicker, their points are kind of locked in. But almost every other position, matchup plays a factor. Matchup is going to, hey, maybe Mahomes against a good defense, he's not worth playing. Maybe Anthony Richardson is to what Team 7, who's the team picking in front of you, did. Wow, Mike Dobbs took the first kicker off the board. Wow, what a sneaky...
Here's the thing, because I don't care for defenses, especially in fantasy. I pick my defense based on the matchup of the week and who's best available. Worried about the defense, if I'm not going to have the best 2 or 3 defensive teams in fantasy, I'll wait, and I'm fine with it. But kickers can win you games, and I'm going to go with the best kicker in fantasy, and that's Justin Tucker, year in and year out.
The only reason I don't dislike it entirely is because you were in that back-to-back pick for the snake draft. So if I said you took him in the 13th round, I wouldn't hate it as much as if you said you took it in the 12th. Well, what's the difference? It was one pick. So I don't have that big a problem with it. Wow, but now you've provoked a run on kicker. Oh, you bastard. Okay. This is the problem. This is what we don't like, Adam, is when we get people like IP Shade 45 and Mike Dobbs 94 and a run on position. So now I've got to take a kicker a round or 2 before what I want. I'll take Harrison Butker and I'll tell everyone to go kick rocks. But no, I didn't like that just now. And Adam, you're in a similar spot. Like, I think Bass, McManus, I would take a kicker. I'd take McManus. I think Jacksonville scores a lot of points.
I think you're right. It's between Jacksonville and Miami's kickers there. And I think
right.
Jacksonville's more. Yep.
So IP Shade 45 now. Look at what Mike Dobbs did. He takes one player, and now in this round we've had 4 kickers taken. Unbelievable. By the way, love the pick by IP Shade 45. By the way, Rice, absolutely a sleeper. Love the pick by IP Shade 45. Keep your eye on that one. Rice could end up being a steal in this draft coming in the 13th round. Bobby Jr. takes Younghoe Koo and then takes another tight end, his 3rd tight end. I don't know what Bobby Jr. has been smoking, but he's taken a 3rd tight end. Very interesting.
Did we talk about LPJ taking back-to-back defenses?
That I don't hate as much. I actually don't hate the defenses as much.
Oof. I never hold 2 defenses on my roster.
Oh, then you're about to hate what I'm going to do because I'm about to take a second defense. Am I?
I have 1 pick left. Do I have to take a second defense here? I mean, it's kind of
right? It's not a terrible decision. The problem is there are no good defenses. All right, I'm going to take another running back and screw over some people. I'm going to take Tyler Algier. And I just think, you know what? He had a decent year last year. If Bijan gets hurt, I have another running back. But I will get another defense. I think having 2 defenses isn't a terrible idea, actually. I don't like playing off the waiver wire. I feel like you're always stuck with like a mid-level defense, and it costs you.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It really does depend on. I like playing the matchups. I like seeing
how big's your league, how smart are the teams you're playing against. Like if you're playing a bunch against adults, maybe you can steal a defense every week. Kind of tough in like a good 12-team league, even a good 10-team league.
And I will say this right now: don't laugh at the team I'm about to pick.
Oh, now I'm definitely going to laugh at you.
No, I'm doing week 1 matchup.
Oh, is it Washington Commanders? Yes, it is.
Playing Arizona, I think that's going to be great for the defense.
No, but for real, he's playing the Cardinals. I'll give it to you. It's actually good. It's actually a good pick for week 1. That's hilarious.
Exactly. I wasn't just doing it based.
Oh, no, you're just doing it because. Don't try and fool me. But anyway, I'm not taking a defense. Oh, actually, I'm taking my defense.
Oh, 100%. And I think this guy will have a bounce-back season. I'm going with Juju as my last pick.
Okay, that's not a bad pick. I actually think for the last round of a draft, Juju Smith-Schuster is a nice pick. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. If they do anything offensively through the air, he's probably going to have a say in it. So don't hate on it. El Pinche gets a kicker in the last round. Jorge the GOAT, where's he going to go with his last pick? By the way, appreciate all of you guys being with us for this show. Make sure you guys are following and subscribing Butt Fumble Sports across all of our platforms. YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Kick. I'm going to take the Dolphins defense. I know Ramsey got hurt, but maybe they could have some good games. Vic Fangio. Team 7 takes the Colts defense. That's dog poop right there. Adam now on the clock.
Back and forth between Baltimore and Carolina's defense. Carolina plays 4 games against 2.
Carolina actually has a better defense than people think. They've got some good young players on that team, actually.
They really came out in the last year because of the division that they're in and how bad the offenses are. Other than New Orleans, I'll grab them.
Okay. By the way, again, pairing it as a second defense, that's not a bad pick. Bobby Jr., the last pick of our mock draft. Who's it gonna be? Bobby Jr.
Mr. Irrelevant here.
Mr. Irrelevant is right, and Mr. Irrelevant is going to be 10 seconds until we find out. The anticipation is literally killing me. Tom Brady. Tom Brady. I love Bobby Jr. playing a joke on all of us. Tom Brady, despite not playing this year, will be the last pick. Mr. Irrelevant. It's the first time in 23 years Tom Brady has been irrelevant at anything. But let's quickly go through each team in our mock draft. Just look at how he did and take a dump on each one of them. Mike Dobbs, 94. I actually love the team he built through the first 4 picks. Like J.K. Dobbins. Quarterback, I'm not crazy about Tagovailoa, but pairing him with Jared Goff, really like that. 2 tight ends, like that combination. Maybe a bit too Buffalo-friendly, but he talked us through that. Washington Commanders defense, yeah, right. We know what that's about.
Okay, but also, are we proud of me for not always drafting Commanders players? I could.
And then you drafted a Commanders player. You drafted the Commanders. Like you can't be like, I'm not going to take a bow while I'm accepting flowers. Like, come on now.
I'm just saying, it's the most irrelevant position in my mind. I said it during the mock draft.
Well, you got the most irrelevant defense for the most irrelevant position. So there you go.
Week 1, great matchup. That's all I will say.
True.
I love Kincaid in there though. I think he's going to be pretty stout this year.
Yeah, I like Kincaid as well. Switching over to Chatos, Jefferson and A.J. Brown is your first 2 picks. Love it. Jalen Hurts, okay. Thought you could have gone with a running back there. Could have waited on on quarterback. You went Walker and Swift with your next 2. You're really heavily loaded on the Eagles' offense. And if Jalen Hurts gets a rushing touchdown, DeAndre Swift can't. So not that crazy about what Chatos did overall. I like the players. I don't like the strategy. That said, Terry McLaurin, that's a steal. Rashad White could be a sneaky good pick. I think Dalton Schultz could be a sneaky good pick. So overall, I think Chatos is probably not one of the better teams, a little too top-heavy in the starting lineup, but has some sneaky players who could make him more competitive than you'd think. Looking at El Pinche, Austin Eckler, Garrett Wilson, love the first 2 picks. I'm not big on Joe Mixon. I would have taken ETN over Mixon, but, maybe I'm wrong about that. Like Amari Cooper, think he has a good year with Deshaun Watson being back. Speaking of which, you got Deshaun Watson, so you're pretty heavy on the Browns in that regard. Do like the tight end Evan Ingram. Probably would have gotten a second one. You got 2 running back, or you got 2 defenses. You got 2 quarterbacks, but you didn't get a second tight end. Little surprised by that.
I will say with El Piche's team, I like his 9, 10, and 11 picks.
Yes.
Rounds. I think Deontay Johnson is going to be a great matchup with Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison. Same with
Jordan Addison could be a steal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. I think it's going to be the same situation like Jahan Dotson in Washington. He's going to take a lot of attention away from Justin Jefferson in a good way. And I think A-Chain is going to be a great option on that high-flying offense in Miami.
Jorge the GOAT went with Hill and Lamb in the first 2, then with ETN and Harris in the next 2, Hawkinson and Trevor Lawrence. Love what Jorge the GOAT did to build out his starting lineup. Definitely think it's strong. Really like Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's a good pick. Steelers defense, okay, good enough. Really like Cole Kmet, pairing him with Hawkinson. Overall, I think Jorge got one of the better teams, at least in terms of starting lineup. The bench, we'll see if any of those running backs produce anything. I like Brian Robinson, but you don't know what you're getting. But between Montgomery, Robinson, and Penny, I figure there's one each week who could have a good week. Emilio. Travis Kelce, I thought was a reach with the first overall pick in the first round. I feel like he's more back end of a first round or early second. Getting Cooper Kupp, Waddle, and Ridley, 3 stud wide receivers. You're going to start them every week in that flex because you don't have any running back talent. Pierce, Madison, Williams, Harris. If you have 2 starting running backs in that group, I'd be surprised. I would think that Emilio would end up trading one of his wide receivers to get another running back. I would definitely be asking about Zay Flowers if I was another team. But overall, I think it's a little too deep at wide receiver, not deep enough at running back.
Love Ridley, though. I think he's going to be...
Love Ridley.
Yep. Yeah.
I think Ridley will be a sleeper. I think he'll be a little bit overreached, though, just because he is going to be the number 1 option in Jacksonville.
I agree with you guys. I really like Calvin Ridley. Looking at my team, seeing if I can look at it honestly, getting Jamar Chase with the 6th overall pick was a steal. In most drafts, he's going 4th or 5th, so to get him where I did, I'll take it. I thought Jonathan Taylor was a bit of a steal. Getting him mid-second round, I'll take it. Jahmyr Gibbs was a reach. Because it's a non-PPR, I just need another running back. ETN came off the board. I liked him more than anyone else. Love Devontae Smith. Getting Chase and Devontae as my 2 starting wide receivers and getting Christian Kirk. Again, I think Calvin Ridley takes away some of the targets, but also some of the attention away from Christian Kirk. I still think he's going to have a good year. Kyle Pitts, if he stays healthy, I love him. If he doesn't, this is a bad pick. Sam Laporta, though, makes it a little bit better. Quarterback is where I failed. Probably should have gone after a quarterback sooner, but I waited. Once Deshaun Watson went, what was the point in drafting another quarterback? So I got Prescott and Rodgers. It's definitely my weakest position. But overall, I think it's a good team. I think I'm a middle of the league, maybe a playoff team, but I don't think I'm a championship caliber team just yet. I'll probably need to make a trade or a waiver wire move. Team 7 was auto drafting. Bijan Robinson, Mahomes, Olave, love the first 3 picks. Stevenson, don't like it as much. And then the auto drafting team drafted 5 straight wide receivers. You heard that right. Loaded up on the wide receiver position. Felt he waited too long to get a 3rd running back, so I thought that was a bit of a mistake. Looking at how Adam did, our fantasy football virgin, how'd he do in his first fantasy football mock draft of the year? Love Nick Chubb. Good pick. Stephon Diggs, I'm not as high on him as others, but that's certainly a good pick. Like, that's me talking. I'm sure plenty of people would like that pick. Aaron Jones, I understood your reasoning. DK Metcalf, steal. Joe Burrow, steal. George Kittle, steal. Pacheco was a good pick. Mike Williams was a good pick. Tony, Charbonnet, Michael Thomas, we didn't talk about that. That was a good pick. I thought once you got past Aaron Jones, I thought you nailed almost every pick you had remaining in the draft. Michael, do you agree with me?
Yeah, I say for his first mock draft, it went very well. Obviously, there's room to improve with picking in the earlier rounds, not always pick the bigger names, but pick based on production. Aaron Jones, since it's not PPR, you got to understand that standard and PPR are going to have different point situations. So I would have held off a little bit on Aaron Jones, and Stephon Diggs, I would have waited a little bit as well. But I think overall, he nailed it for his first time.
I didn't grab another tight end, though. Everyone grabbed 2. I didn't get another one of those.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Also, make sure you get a backup tight end.
Yeah.
Because that is very important. Don't draft a tight end as well. You got to wait until the end to get your backup as well, because other than your top 10, top 15, there's no one really available. I think that's going to give you good production.
Notice, Adam, Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta both went in the 11th round. So that tells you around that 11-12 mark where you were asking, like, should I take a defense? Should I take a kicker? That's also where you should be asking, should I get a second tight end?
Copy.
Shade 45, looking at his team, Barkley and Jacobs really like those starting 2 running backs, especially where you were in the end of the first round or second to last pick of the first round, did like that. Josh Allen, 3rd round, not going to talk you out of it. Higgins, Judy, and Ayuk, solid wide receiver group, so a pretty good starting lineup. Really like what you did at running back with Dillon and Cook. Feel like one of those guys is going to become a good RB3, flex option, so I really like what IP Shade 45 did there. And Njoku and Freiermuth, love it. 49ers and Eagles, it screwed all of us, but it was a great play by IP Shade 45, really boxing everyone out of the top 2 defenses. Rice, love the pick. Overall, I think IP Shade 45 might be the best team, certainly in contention for it. And finally, Bobby Jr. Looking at Bobby Jr.'s team, he went last. Pollard and Henry, okay. I'm not as big on Henry this year as others, but I get it. Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson back-to-back on Baltimore's offense. That was curious. Getting Justin Fields 2 picks after Lamar Jackson, that was a stunner. Then he got Lockett, Dotson, and Sky Moore, like the wide receivers, but again, could have gotten a better wide receiver if he hadn't gone for another quarterback when he did. Like the 2 tight ends, think those are really solid, but you got a 3rd tight end in Higbee, didn't understand that one. And then Tom Brady is the last pick. I think that's Bobby Jr.'s tribute to the GOAT, Tom Brady. Everyone knows Tom Brady is the greatest human being that's ever been produced in mankind, so it makes sense that you do that. With that said, if you guys want to participate in our mock drafts, we do one almost every day. Just DM us on Instagram. That's Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. You can DM us. We'll share a link with you guys. We're going to do our shows every weekday at about 5 o'clock. We'll probably do our mock drafts at about 6 o'clock every day. So if you guys want to participate in the mock drafts, that's how you can. Want to give a big shout out, as big as I possibly can, to our 2 contributors tonight. Adam, you can check him out at @SpotterAJ on Twitter. That's @SpotterAJ. Adam, thank you so much for all you do for the network and everything you do behind the scenes. Also want to give a big shout out to @MichaelDobbs94 or @MikeDobbs94. That's Michael Dobbin. Since I butchered that, I'll say that one more time. That's Michael Dobbin, who does a great job covering the NFL for us. You can find him at @MikeDobbs94, @MikeDobbs94. Michael, Adam, thank you guys so much. Want to give a shout out to our producer behind the scenes who makes all of this possible. And guys, we are going to be live tomorrow at 5 p.m. But if you love talking NFL, make sure you join us every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, because that's when Butt Fumble Sports will be live with our NFL show. So if you love talking NFL, make sure you join us Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. every single week. That's a promise. We'll be here. Adam, Mike, have a great night, guys. To everyone else who watched the show, hope you have a great evening, and we will see you again tomorrow for our daily show